I got a few programs here I wanted to talk to you about.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you talking about our old game, Guess the Program?
Not necessarily. Actually, two of these here are not Guess the Program. I want to tell you what they are because they're fascinating. I thought.
Okay, well, you just want to brag about them.
I have other ones you could try to guess. We'll see how good you are. Okay, you know what? F it. We'll start with the guessing. We'll see.
All right, we'll see
how Mr. Guessing is. All right.
You, I'll answer then. I'll figure it out. Hold on, I've got paper here.
That's good.
All right.
I got paper here. All right, Jim, here's the card. The opener, one fall. Baron Gattoni versus Timothy
Geohagen. Okay.
Brother Frank Jers and Babe Zaharias versus Paul DeGaulle and Dynamite Lay.
Is that, and by the way, it's Leigh, right?
No, it says Lay. Dynamite Lay.
Oh, wait. You know what? No, was that a nickname for Charlie Lay?
Hold on, let me take a look.
Remember Mid-South Commissioner Charlie Lay at one point?
Who never left Florida. Hold on.
Who never left Florida.
I'm looking here inside here. Paul DeGaulle. I can't say that because it'll reveal who this is or where this card is. It does not say. It is not stipulated anywhere. It may be Charlie Lay.
All right. And by the way, Babe Zaharias apparently was and goddamn, I read the research on this, but it's a complicated situation. But Babe Zaharias was not George Zaharias, nor his brother Chris Zaharias, but was a wrestling manufactured Zaharias brother. I can't remember who it was a well-known name, but I can't remember who now, but go ahead.
And finally, the main event, 2 out of 3 falls, 60-minute time limit. Wild Red Berry versus Chris Tolis. And next week, the Canadian Bear.
God damn it. We are in the early 1950s, early to mid. We are, what part of the country am I trying to say? I don't think we're in the Midwest like Chicago. I think we're out Kansas, Missouri, Iowa way. Did I say Kansas? We're not in Kansas.
Or Iowa. It's the Kansas City, Iowa way, I believe you said.
Yeah. Oh, God damn it. I don't think anything's going to come. I'm going to say 1954, somewhere in Kansas or Missouri.
The date? Friday, May 11th, 1956.
Shit.
The town, Knoxville, Tennessee.
No!
Yes!
Holy shit! I would have never thought, Frank Jers was in the Tennessee territory in the mid-50s when he wrote, or when his son later on, wrote about it in
Whatever Happened to
Gorgeous George, but I wouldn't have put Red Berry and Chris Tolos on top in Knoxville in 1954. So you got me there, pal.
All right, let's go to this next program. Some interesting copy here, but let's just go to the card. The opening bout, 30 minutes, 1 fall. Dick Beyer, 225, Buffalo, New York, versus Joe Scarpa, 230, Jersey City, New Jersey. The second bout,
by way of Pawhuska, Oklahoma.
The second bout being a special added attraction for the Colored Ladies World Wrestling Championship, Babs Wingo versus Ethel Johnson.
They were sisters, obviously. That story has been told recently.
The semifinal match, Tor Yamada versus Johnny Rodcek. And
How do you spell that?
Rodcek.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, it could be Rodcek. I guess I should say this after the main event. The main event, 2 out of 3 falls, 1 hour time limit. Chief Little Eagle, 222 out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, versus the Red Terror, 245, parts unknown, While Bill Longson is pretty sore because he didn't get the championship match with Hutton, he's just dying to get another shot at that title. Anyway, he's challenged the Red Terror, using it as a stepping stone to the title match. He intends to unmask the Terror with his famous pile-driving hold.
But Little Eagle, that's in the future.
Yes.
Little Eagle is wrestling Red Terror tonight.
That's right.
And obviously, he just said Champion Hutton, so we're in either 1957 or 58, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And we're down south, I think. I think that because Scarpa worked a lot in the South and is early in his career. Toru Yamada was the Japanese heel in the Tennessee territory before Tojo Yamamoto. Beyer worked before he became the Destroyer, and the timeline fits. Beyer worked down south. Colored Ladies is another clue. The question is this a Birmingham? Is this, probably wouldn't be Chattanooga, Huntsville, Alabama, potentially somewhere in West Tennessee. Birmingham, 1957.
The date, Tuesday, April 22nd, 1958.
Okay.
Louisville, Kentucky.
Love what? You prick. You prick. All right, this was in the dark days of the Goldenrod Athletic Club when Wee Willie Davis had tried to take over running the town upon the death of Francis McDonough, the prior promoter. And no wonder these cards didn't fucking draw. Good Lord.
Coming soon, Jackie and Don Fargo.
Wow, now that, but you know what?
April 58.
I've got to get with Cosper and see if he is, because he researched the Allen Athletic Club and Francis McDonough's years. I don't know if he's done Wee Willie Davis's yet. We were not certain that the Fargos ever appeared in Louisville during their 50s run, because Louisville was not controlled by the Nashville booking office at that point. So that'd be interesting.
And again, coming soon doesn't necessarily mean they actually showed up or.
Well, no, there was a lot of coming soons that never came at all, especially when they went out with me.
All right, well, let me go to this next one here. All right, here's the card. This is a giveaway. This is easy. I'll give you an easy one.
Well, apparently I need it.
The opening bout, George Becker versus Pat O'Brien. The second preliminary bout, Lenny Montana versus Anton Leone. The semifinal match, a tag team match, Don McClarty and Pedro Morales versus Laverne Baxter and Gypsy Joe. And the main event, and this will be a little bit of a giveaway, for the World Heavyweight Championship, Buddy Rogers defends against Rip Hawk.
I believe we are in Evansville, Indiana, are we not?
We are not, thankfully.
What?
Who wants to be there?
Well, goddamn it! Now you've thrown me off. Because I've just been reading those excellent Evansville history books from Sean Delaney, and they actually did have Rogers defend the title against Rip Hawk when Rip Hawk was the top star in Evansville back in 1959. Well, then this is odd. Okay, George Becker obviously started out in the probably late 30s and was the booker for Jim Crockett Promotions when Jim Crockett Sr. ran the territory, and up until the change over to George Scott, etc. And Becker and Weaver were the top babyface tag team. Pat O'Brien, I have learned that Pat Malone, the Green Shadow, actually worked a lot of his career as Pat O'Brien. Pedro Morales with Don McClarty is odd. McClarty's known as a top guy in The Atlanta territory, Pedro would have had to have been a rookie or nearly thereabouts. Laverne Baxter and Gypsy Joe is a goddamn great combination. We've got to be in 62, 61 or 62, with Rogers defending the title. By 63, he was pretty much tied up with Vince and about to drop it. And this has to be in the South somewhere. Or potentially if it's not Evansville, boy, Laverne Baxter was a top guy a lot of times in the Gulf Coast area, but this doesn't seem like it would be that. Where the fuck would Pedro Morales have popped up in this band of merry misfits? 1961 in the Carolina territory.
The date? October 23rd, a Monday, 1961, Charlotte's Park Center.
Boom! There you go. The Carolina territory pretty much encompasses Charlotte Park Center. So I'll take that as a moral victory.
Coming next week, Pat O'Connor, former world's heavyweight champion and now holder of the United States title, will appear in Charlotte next week.
And you see that little tidbit, Pedro Morales in Charlotte. If you would have said, would Pedro Morales have worked in Charlotte in 1961? He'd get the same answer as when we said, did Antonio Inoki work in Kingsport, Tennessee in 1965?
I thought
and the answer is yes, he did.
I thought Rip Hawk was actually going to be the giveaway to you.
Well, see, yeah, it threw me off bad because at that point in time, I have just been reading these books, and Rip Hawk came in and started doing the Evansville, Indiana local TV studio show and became the top star in the town to the point where he even actually moved there and bought a house. And that whole thing. And I'm thinking, at that point in time, where would Rip Hawk have been in contention for the NWA World title? Because, yes, Rip Hawk and Swede Hansen were a legendary tag team in Charlotte, but that came along afterwards. And, it's odd. The crew that they used in the 50s and early 60s in Charlotte, it had a completely different flavor than what you would think as the modern Charlotte stars. Tojo Yamamoto as P.Y. Chung not only got an NWA World title match against Buddy Rogers, and I would have loved to have seen that son of a bitch, but he was so hot as a heel in Charlotte, Tojo, that was the main event of a fucking ballpark show outdoors in the summertime. And if you had said in 1975 in Louisville, Kentucky, to any smart fan, even Weasel Dooley, do you think Tojo ever got a shot at Buddy Rogers for the NWA title? You don't looked at that person like their fucking heads were on fire. So you never know about these things.
Jim, our next one, the opening bout. I assume it's the opening bout. It must be. A special rematch. Wild Red Berry versus Tommy Phelps.
Okay.
The semifinal, Bob Geigel versus Bulldog Pletchus.
Danny Bulldog Pletchus to you.
It only says Bulldog here. I'm going based on what it says actually right here. And the main event for a tag title I will not name. The Fabulous Kangaroos, the champions, Roy Heffernan and Al Costello versus Juan Garcia and Sonny Myers.
Well, we're in Kansas. Either that or Missouri.
You know what? I'm going to, just to make this interesting, tell you you're wrong on both. And you probably, I know why you think it would be there, but it's not.
Well, God damn it. All right. Well, Geigel didn't just wrestle there for his entire life. And Wild Red Berry was a big name all over the place. Sonny Myers sort of homesteaded the Central States territory. If it's Costello and Heffernan, It has to be what, pre-1965. And now you've got me completely out of my train of thought, and the drugs are kicking in also.
I'll give you another clue, just because I'm big on clues this week.
Okay.
The headline story in this program, Lou Thez here next Monday night, rematch, Bulldog versus Thez. Again, a title I'm not going to name is once again at stake. The winner to meet the world champion, Pat O'Connor.
Aha! All right, and then in that case, we're looking at 1959 or 1960. Are you trying to throw or run by another ringer in here? This is going to be one of my favorite towns in the world, in some fashion.
No, I've never actually heard you talk about this town. I don't know if you've ever been there. You must have, but I've never heard you talk about it.
Where the fuck would they have been then? I have no idea. I know it's either 1959 or 1960, I would think. I have no idea the location of where this would be.
Monday night, February 16th, 1959, the Civic Auditorium, Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Jesus Christ. I'll tell you what. I never went to Albuquerque often, but I was in Albuquerque twice, and one time I was in Albuquerque, I was in 3 different people. So it's a memorable place, but I would have never guessed Sonny Myers and Juan Garcia, the interpreter for fucking Juan Valdez against the Kangaroos in Albuquerque. And what was the date?
The date was February 16th, 1959. Here's from the headline about Thez coming back. The 5 times former World Heavyweight Wrestling Champion Lou Thez, who was also the 7-state regional title holder here last Monday night for a mere 20 minutes, will be back next week and once again take on Bulldog Plutchis with the same silver and gold Rocky Mountain title belt at stake.
Well, there you go.
So he was the champion for 20 minutes.
Oh, they probably pulled some kind of goddamn...
It's like Raw.
Reverse decision or whatever, you know.
All right, one more that I'll quiz you with, and then I'll hit you with a few interesting ones. The opening bout, Tony Belargian versus Johnny Svensky. Second bout, Jerry Mace of Ireland versus Johnny Berend, Rochester, New York. The semifinal, Johnny Rougeau out of Montreal, 235 pounds, versus Aldo Bogny, South America, 248 pounds, 1 fall, 30-minute time limit. And the main event, Australian tag team match, referee Bearcat Wright, Ivan and Carol Kalmakoff versus Fritz von Erich and Karl von Schober, Russians versus Germans.
Fritz and von Schober. That sounds like... Could it be the Midwest? Could it be an upstate New York area type of thing? It also could very well be straight into the capital sports territory of the late 50s, early 60s.
If I name the promoter or the matchmaker, you'll get it right away.
Well, and that kind of would spoil it, wouldn't it? But otherwise, who's the matchmaker?
I'll give you the promoter. The matchmaker's, I think the matchmaker's an even bigger giveaway, although to you, you'll get it either way. Promoter. Dennis Stecker.
Okay, well, wait a minute now. Then we're talking about the Midwest and the AWA territory, what would become the AWA territory.
That is correct.
But then at that period of time, had it become the AWA yet? I guess you're taking that as a rhetorical question.
You know what? I'll just give it to you.
What? No,
rhetorically. It had not become the AWA yet.
We're looking at, what would this be, 1957 Minneapolis?
January 8th, 1957, Tuesday, Minneapolis Auditorium.
Boom. There you go. All right.
How about that? The Russians versus the Germans in 57 with Bearcat Wright as the referee.
You know, that is, well, but Minnesota was never the seat of strife in the civil rights world or the seat of the, communist blacklist. So you got Nazis, you got Russians, and you got African Americans living in harmony, beating the fuck out of each other.
I'll give you this card. This may be a tough one, but the story is actually what's on the cover here. The opening match, 1 fall, 30-minute time limit, Benny Trudell versus Ray Stevens. 2 out of 3 fall, 1 hour time limit match, Miss M. Young versus Miss P. Hoffman. And the main event, 2 out of 3 falls, returned by public demand, no time limit, winner take all, Chris Zaharias versus Junior Mr. America, Harry Smith.
Good Lord. Chris Zaharias actually was George Zaharias' brother, right? He had a real brother, just not Babe. Harry Smith is not that old, the one I'm thinking of. M. Young and P. Hoffman. Ray Stevens, this has to be, he's a rookie, so what, 1953, 4, maybe 2? Are we somewhere in Ohio? Or West Virginia?
We are not.
Where did he go? Are we out west again?
We are not.
Are we tired of me guessing hopelessly? Where is this fucking thing?
The promoter, Cowboy Luttrell. The announcer, Gordon Soley. The physician.
Florida.
We're in Florida. We're in Tampa. October 15th, Monday, 1956. The headline on the front page of the program, Grudge match on tap this Monday night at Auditorium, October 15th. Watch for your live TV wrestling starting Wednesday, noon, on WFLA, October 17th.
Wow. Starting
at noon.
And we were talking about this when we talked about the research I'd done on the Graham brothers and for one of the Vice shoots here recently. Florida, before Eddie Graham, was neither a big money territory, nor was it a place where wrestling drew huge crowds, because Florida was pre-amusement parks and development and etc. Florida was a, sleepy southern state. It wasn't, except for Miami Beach, where the gangsters started going early, it wasn't a goddamn scene of a lot of hubbub. And Tampa, Florida, you go through the old 50s results and, the newspaper records, attendances, a big wrestling crowd in Tampa was 1,500 people back in those days. And with a card like that, you can probably see why. And Cowboy Luttrell had run it for years and years and years, but Eddie Graham had been there a couple times. He'd been there as a rookie, down from Chattanooga, just in the opening matches. And then he had been there right before he got that run in Amarillo with Dory Funk Sr. And he obviously saw, there's opportunity here. A guy that understood the wrestling business could come down here and get over as the top guy and be able to buy in. And I've got to hook up with Vince McMahon, who may have, my gimmick brother, Dr. Jerry, may have been Vince's favorite wrestler when he was a kid, Vince Jr.'s favorite wrestler, but Vince Sr. probably put more faith and stock in Eddie Graham than he did in Jerry. So, I think that's why Eddie Graham went there, when he could have his pick of going anywhere after he just come off of selling out Madison Square Garden, because he didn't want to just be one of the boys and bounce around. He wanted to be a top guy, take over a territory, become an owner, et cetera, et cetera. But boy, what a all-star card there. Tampa, Florida.
Listen to a couple of the things in the program here. Around the ringside, All of us on the promotional end of wrestling hope that you will thoroughly enjoy the coming season. We feel that at times you will be happy with the outcome of the matches, and that at other times you will be unhappy. You may even find fault with the officials. But wrestling is not alone confined to fans criticizing officials. The basketball, baseball, football, and boxing fans hate officials, especially if their favorites are beaten. When you attend wrestling matches or any other sports event, enjoy yourself and relax. If you do that, the money you will spend for the entertainment will be worthwhile. And after all sports are produced for your entertainment. Surely, the outcome of world problems are not involved. Relax, and you will enjoy long life. What the fuck is that?
Apparently, Cowboy Luttrell or somebody in his office waxing poetic and philosophically. And also, they probably had a lot of heat on the referees because they've been doing a lot of fuck finishes.
The next time a critic cracks a lung abusing the ancient sport of wrestling, you could do him a favor. Buy him a ringside ticket, and we will bet he'll come back for more helpings. Why? Because the mat game is as colorful as a hurricane-stuck paint shop, as versatile as a jack of all trades, as fresh as the present second of time, and as infinite as eternity. It is the scent of blood, sweat, and liniment. Its trademarks are toil, tears, and pain, softened by touches of laughter and applause, smoothed by human nature and humor. This has been AEW Dynamite. What the hell is that?
And we promise not one unpleased face will be left.
Hey, one quick thing before we move off this program and on with the show. The TV's debuting, it's not even that it's debuting at noon, it's debuting Wednesday at noon. What are your thoughts on, again, this is 1956, Tampa, Florida. That's the time spot that wrestling's getting.
That's a little perplexing and puzzling, but again, I think there may be more to that story. Now, also, if you want to Google real quick, I know this is your show, but when did that television station come on the air in Tampa, Florida? WFLA. It's one of the long-standing stations, but was it a brand new station? Or could it have been that they flummoxed up and that's when they taped the program? Because didn't they always in Florida tape the TV wrestling show on a weekday or a prior day for rebroadcast, even when they were doing it from their own building?
WFLA went on the air February 14th, 1955. Again, this program is October 15th, 56. And on the back here, I have, notice wrestling fans. Don't forget to tune your TV set to WFLA Channel 8, Wednesday at 12 noon.
Okay.
When, for the first time in wrestling history, live matches will be shown in Florida. Free tickets may be had by writing WFLA TV Wrestling and enclosing a stamped, addressed envelope.
Okay, that is bizarre. And I don't think it lasted long. Maybe it was a brand new station. They said they'd been on the air for a year. That's when, you know what? They may have not had videotape capability. They may have, if you want to do a show in our studio, it's got to be live, because that was the case with some local television stations back in the 50s that did not have the ability to record and rebroadcast. So maybe that's the time they had. Like I said, it probably didn't last that long, but I don't remember another, even 1950s wrestling television program being on a regular slot on a weekday during the day.
With live matches.
But live or taping, well, you got in the modern era when you had afternoon programming blocks and of things, and World Class was on ESPN 4:00 in the afternoon, but just a local TV program with the local promotion being on a weekday between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. I don't remember that ever.
1956, you're a wrestling promoter. You take that because as soon as you get on that TV it's going to become probably the one show on that network that gets the biggest reaction.
Yeah. And also, if they'd never had television before, they obviously wanted to get in on it, but the prospects were slim because there weren't that many stations and opportunities, so they took what they could get. But then obviously with 30 years after that relationship that Florida had with television wrestling, it worked pretty quick, and they started switching it to weekends where it could, gain a bigger viewership.
Well, Jim, perhaps you were a fan in Florida and you were alarmed. Middle of the day, you're looking for Chatty Patty or whatever it may be, and all of a sudden
Chatty Patty?
Here is wrestling. Maybe you want to sue if you're Chris Jericho and you have a time machine.
I guess we'll just go with that. You know what? I'll make up my own. Let's say, for example, you've got a co-host that swore that he'd help you get through your brain fog and help you lead you through the show and blow the music cues, do the whole 9 yards. And he reneges on this, and he just gives you transitions into spots that are flatter than a plate full of piss. What are you going to do? Who are you going to call? How are you going to get even?
Call Stephen P. News. If you need to sue. An outlaw mud show or two. Those are the rest.
Folks, what are you going to do? You're at the end of your rope or the end of your leash or the end of your tether or the end of your harness or the end of your strap-on, whatever it may be, and you're dizzy and you're tired and you're downtrodden and you're worn out and you're the poor and the pitiful. Give us you're tired, you're poor, you're a huddled mass, and somebody's messing with you, whether you've been wrongfully terminated, whether you've been injured in an accident due to someone else's negligence or impropriety, whether some major corporation or greedy monopoly has poisoned your atmosphere, or whether you yourself or members of your family have been mistreated by folks that ought to know better than to do that kind of treating, the man, the myth, the legend, our friend, our neighbor, our consigliere at the Cult of Cornette, Stephen P. New, at newlawoffice.com, 888-692-8084 is the man for you. If this was earlier in the program or I had an oxygen tank next to me, I would wax rhapsodic at length on the many attributes that Stephen P. New has that makes him and his team at newlawoffice.com the perfect counsel for you, no matter what your sojourn that you are about to take into the American legal system is. They can handle it. What they can't handle, they can find somebody to give you a hand with, because they know everything. And it's all available at your fingertips. Just punch in the number 888-692-8084 or log on, as the kids say, newlawoffice.com. And they have, there's many various listings of all the types of cases that they have helped people and continue to help people with, and will do the same for you. And they, a complete explanation of their charitable organization or charitable efforts with different organizations in West Virginia and around the country, and all the variety of public service and benefit to the community that Stephen and his minions do to keep things running properly and right and give people opportunities. You ought to play some patriotic music behind me, Brian, like Oliver Wendell Douglas on Green Acres. As I say, that's all that Stephen wants to do, is make a better society. Give people the ability to pull themselves up by their own jock straps and grab the bull by the tail and face the situation. So if you're one of those people that wants to stick your face right up next to that bull, then you call Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, 888-692-8084.